Thank you for attending Torrance Transit's Summer 2022 Proposed Service Changes public hearing. This presentation will describe all the changes that Torrance Transit will be implementing in 2022. In today's presentation, staff will discuss the update on the Mary K. Giordano Regional Transit Center, Torrance Transit routes that will serve the new facility, Line 10X Torrance to Florence expansion, resuming service on the Rapid 3 and serving the new facility, and Title VI analysis for some of the service changes we have made during the COVID pandemic and staffing shortage. The Mary K. Giordano Regional Transit Center is a state-of-the-art transit terminal with 8 bus bays and the ability for 3 of them to serve 60-foot articulating buses. It also has 4 layover zones for buses to accommodate current and future demands with clean restroom facilities. Currently, the facility can accommodate approximately 250 parking spaces. However, Torrance Transit has secured funding for additional parking to accommodate the new C, formerly known as the Green Line extension to Torrance in 2028. The funding will allow Torrance Transit the ability to expand into an approximately 500-space parking structure. There is also a passenger drop-off zone, also known as Kiss and Ride, and TNC drop-off area, along with passenger information kiosks, including real-time information, and security amenities, CCTV systems. There will be 8 outdoor bicycle lockers and bike racks, and 2 retail or fast food spaces. Finally, the bus bay area will have 2 TVMs for tap card purchase and reloading fares, and ATMs. The facility will be LEED Gold certified. The new transit center is scheduled to be open summer of 2022. Torrance Transit is planning to have Line 1, Rapid 3, 4X, 5, 6, and Line 10 serve the new transit center. Line 1 and 4X will travel to the transit center via Crenshaw Boulevard heading north, while Line 6 will travel to the transit center via Crenshaw Boulevard heading south. Line 5 will travel via Torrance Boulevard, Crenshaw Boulevard, and then continues on Del Amo Boulevard. Finally, Line 10, currently traveling on Crenshaw Boulevard, will use the transit center as a stop. Torrance Transit plans on resuming service for the Rapid 3 route. The route will continue to serve customers from downtown Long Beach to the Del Amo Mall. However, we plan on terminating the route at the new transit center after serving the Del Amo Mall. Frequency on the route will be between 30 to 40 minutes during peak service on weekday only. This will provide service to the mall for those who would like to transfer from the Line 5 and 10 at the new Regional Transit Center. In addition, Torrance Transit is also proposing to consolidate some of the stops on Rapid 3 in order to alleviate crowding, reduce dwell time, and improve bus speed and on-time performance. In order to identify the stops that could be removed, staff analyzed the ridership, proximity to nearby stops, wheelchair ramp deployment, and other nearby locations where seniors might be utilizing the stops. The proposed stops that will be removed are Pacific Avenue at 5th Street westbound, Pacific Avenue at 10th Street in both directions, Pacific Avenue at 15th Street in both directions, and Pacific Coast Highway at Blinn Avenue. Torrance Transit is also proposing to remove the unproductive segment of the Line 2 and 5 where low ridership has been observed. The Line 2 and 5 will serve and terminate at El Camino College. This slide contains a site plan for the new Mary K. Giordano Regional Transit Center and the 8 bus bays, along with proposed bus routes serving the transit center. This slide contains a zoomed-in section of the changes to the routes serving the new Regional Transit Center and the changes to Line 2 and 5 terminating at El Camino College. Torrance Transit will also expand Line 10 from the Crenshaw C, formerly known as Green Line station, to downtown Inglewood. This service will be called Torrance to Florence. It will also serve the new Mary K. Giordano Regional Transit Center in Torrance. Benefits of expanding Line 10 include providing a one-seat connection service from Torrance to the new SoFi Stadium, the Forum, and the future Metro Crenshaw LAX line. In addition, this service will alleviate traffic caused by vehicles driving to the NFL games and other events held in this region. Additional points of interest for the Line 10 extension include downtown Inglewood, Hollywood Park, Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center, the future home of the Clippers, Inglewood Senior Center, Centinela Hospital Medical Center, and the Inglewood Social Security Office. Line 10 will be renamed to Line 10X and continues from Crenshaw C Line Station via Crenshaw Boulevard, then left on Imperial Highway, right on Prairie Avenue, left on Manchester Boulevard, right on La Brea Avenue, right on Florence Avenue, and right on Locust Street in downtown Inglewood. This map shows all the proposed changes for Torrance Transit system in 2022. Per FTA requirements, Torrance Transit is required to perform a Title VI equity analysis for all major service changes. Based on our Title VI plan, all major increases or decreases of 25% or more in transit service are subject to a Title VI equity analysis prior to board approval of the service change. As a recipient of federal funding, Torrance Transit is required to ensure that service changes, fare policies, and other programs are consistent with the intent of Title VI as set forth in Federal Transit Administration Circular 4702.1b. Disparate impact refers to a facially neutral policy or practice that disproportionately affects members of a group identified by race, color, or national origin, and the policy lacks a substantial legitimate justification, including one or more alternatives that would serve the same legitimate objectives but with less disproportionate effects based on race, color, or national origin. Disproportionate burden refers to a neutral policy or practice that disproportionately affects low-income riders more than non-low-income riders. Torrance Transit's Title VI policy defines the threshold that will be utilized when analyzing the impacts to minority riders. For service or fare changes, a disparate impact and disproportionate burden will be deemed to have occurred if the absolute difference between the percentage of minority riders adversely affected and overall percentage of minority riders is at least 15%, or if overall minority routes have been adversely affected more than 15% compared to non-minority routes. This policy was updated and approved by City Council in June 2019. Minority is defined as any individual who identifies as African American, American Indian, and Alaska Native, Asians and Pacific Islanders, Hispanics, other, and two or more races combined. Torrance Transit defines low-income riders at $38,625, which is 150% of the federal poverty level for a family of four. The source used for all of the analyses is based on the American Census 2020 decennial. Since the onset of the pandemic, Torrance Transit has made some significant changes in the last 2 years in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19 and also meet the challenges of staffing and bus operator shortages. This chart shows an in-depth equity analysis for populations who are minority or low income for the current service against the proposed changes back in June of 2021. It also includes the percentage of disparate impact and disproportionately burdened populations based on the proposed service change. System-wide minority populations served by the physical routes decreased 1.5% and 1% for low-income population. Line 13 was a new route acquired by Torrance Transit from LA Metro. 1% more temporary service reduction in terms of revenue miles were made to non-minority routes and 12% more for non-low-income routes. 1% more revenue hours were reduced in minority routes compared to non-minority, and 11% more for non-low-income compared to low-income routes. 9% more trips were reduced on minority routes compared to non-minority routes. 19% of trips were reduced in both low-income and non-low-income routes. In November of 2021, Torrance Transit made service reductions system-wide in order to adjust and meet the challenges of the staff and bus operator shortages. This problem was experienced by other transit agencies throughout the nation. When comparing the service from June of 2021 to the temporary service cut in November of 2021, system-wide minority and low-income populations served by the physical routes had no change. However, with the Rapid 3 route temporarily removed due to the staffing shortage, there was a 100% impact to the route. 17% more temporary service reduction in terms of revenue miles were made to minority compared to non-minority routes, and 16% more reduction to non-low income compared to low-income routes. 6% more revenue hours were reduced in minority routes compared to non-minority, and 15% more reduction for non-low income compared to low-income routes. 3% more trips were reduced in minority routes compared to non-minority routes, and 14% more reduction in non-low income than low-income routes. For the summer 2022 service changes, along with the proposed changes described earlier, when compared with our current service today, system-wide minority populations served by the physical routes will have an increase of 1% and less than 1% for low-income populations. With the Rapid 3 route resuming service and terminating at the Regional Transit Center, there is a 100% impact to the route, as the route is currently not in service. The shortening of Line 2 and 5 to El Camino College will have around 9% less minority population and 13 and 14% less low-income population. The Line 10 extension to Inglewood will have an increase of 7.1% in minority population, but a decrease of 4.3% in low-income population. Line 6 will have an increase of 4.8% in minority population, but a decrease of 7.7% in low-income population when serving the Regional Transit Center. 26% more revenue miles will increase among minority routes, in addition to a 4% increase to non-low-income routes. 22% more revenue hours will increase in minority routes compared to non-minority, and 6% more for non-low-income compared to low-income routes. 13% more trips will increase in minority routes compared to non-minority routes, and 8% more in non-low-income than low-income routes. When comparing the proposed service changes for summer 2022 with pre-pandemic levels, system-wide minority and low-income populations served by the routes will have remained relatively the same compared to pre-pandemic numbers. The shortening of Line 2 and 5 to El Camino College means these two routes will have around 11% less minority population and experience a decrease of 7.4% and 2.4% respectively for low-income populations. The Line 10 extension to Inglewood will mean an increase of 5.7% in minority and 7% in low-income populations. Line 6 will see an increase of 3.4% in minority populations, but a decrease of 0.5% in low-income populations. The Rapid 3 route resuming service and terminating at the Regional Transit Center will see an increase of about 2% in minority and low-income populations. When comparing the impacts, almost 3% more service reduction in terms of revenue miles was made to non-minority routes and 23% more to non-low-income routes. 5% more revenue hours were reduced in minority compared to non-minority routes, and 20% more for non-low-income compared to low-income routes. 1% more trips were reduced among non-minority routes compared to minority routes, and 10% more in non-low-income than low-income routes. Displayed are the impacts of proposed stop removals for our minority and low-income routes. Minority routes are proposed to have a 6.78% reduction in their total number of stops, while non-minority routes are proposed to have a 7.65% reduction, or a difference of 0.88 percentage points. Low-income routes will not have any stops removed under the proposed changes, while non-low-income routes will see an 8.54% reduction in total stops. Displayed are route alternatives for customers impacted by the summer 2022 service changes. Customers on Crenshaw Boulevard and Van Ness Avenue, north of El Camino College, can access the Metro C, formerly known as the Green Line, at Crenshaw Station using Torrance Transit Line 10X or LA Metro Line 210. With the Rapid 3 connecting with the Regional Transit Center and discontinuing service to the South Bay Galleria, customers along Hawthorne Boulevard, north of Torrance Boulevard, can use Torrance Transit Line 8 or Metro 344. Customers affected by the Rapid 3 bus stop consolidation at the proposed removed stops can access Torrance Transit Line 3.